Alrighty, YouTube, we're going to start the second part of this video. We're going to go ahead and go over this paper log system. Like I said, you know, this pretty much goes over the same thing what the Qualcomm is doing, but this is just a manual way to show you so you get an understanding. Alright, you really didn't want to go into explaining how to do paper logs, but I mean, this pretty much is going to tell you. Alright, with that being said, I didn't explain the 8-2 split. That was on my notes if you look. I don't know if you guys can see that down there. I circled it. That's the 8-2 split. I'm going to explain it on here. Alright, so don't pay attention to anything down here. I think you can only see this top part anyway. So we're going to start. So we started this day here with a period that we had of off duty. Alright, so we had off duty for an hour. So each one of these, you see, it starts at midnight, and this is 1 a.m., 2 a.m., etc. to noon, and this is 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., etc. to midnight. Alright, each one of these lines, if you can see, the little tick marks is 15 minutes increments. So 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 45, and a complete hour. If you look over here, it tells you that a quarter or 15 minutes is 0.25 on the graph, half or 30 minutes is 0.5, 45 minutes or 3/4 is 0.75. This is the way it has to be logged. Alright, so you see a complete hour from midnight to 1 a.m. off duty, change of duty status. Alright, and anytime, I didn't do it, I don't know why. Anytime you have a change of duty status, you have to have a remark of city and state. Now this stuff the Qualcomm is going to automatically do if you're doing electronic logs. If you're not, if you're doing paper, you have to do that. Alright, so we went from off duty to sleeper berth for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. Alright, and then change of duty status to on duty. It shows here Springfield, Missouri, and we fueled 15 minutes. So we got fuel at the terminal for 15 minutes, and then we went up to our drive line. We drove for a period of 2 hours. Alright, change of duty status. You see the city change. So we went from Springfield, Missouri to Joplin, Missouri to loading. Alright, so 30 minutes on duty, change of duty status, Joplin, Missouri, back up to off duty for 15 minutes. Alright, and then back down to the drive line for 2 hours, and then we ended change of duty status Springfield, Missouri, and we added drop and hook, which is unloading, 15 minutes. Alright, and then went back up to sleeper for a period of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours and 45 minutes. Alright, and then change of duty status down here again, back to off duty for those last 4 hours in the day. Alright, in Springfield, Missouri. So that's pretty much how you log, and this is what the Qualcomm is doing. It's following you on this bar graph, and I'll show you in a second. The Qualcomm has its own graph that you can look at that looks identical to this. When the DOT wants to see it, they'll tell you, hey, you know, call who you got to call, and they'll fax the logs to the DOT in paper. Alright, so you always add your cumulative hours here on the end. See 5.25 hours of off duty, 13.75 of sleeper berth, 4 of driving, an hour of on duty. For this must equal 24 hours. All these must equal 24 hours. If it doesn't equal up right, you need to go back here and figure out what you're doing wrong. Alright, this column here is for your last 7 days. Alright, it's supposed to be 8 days, but it says 7 days work, which actually, no, this is correct. 7 days, because this is the 8th day. Alright, that is correct. I apologize. Alright, up here I put the mileage. This is kind of important. So, you know, you got to get your mileage for the day. The Qualcomm's going to do it. Like I said, you don't have to worry about this if you're doing electronic logs. But if you're doing paper logs, you need to know how many miles you drove for the day. Because what the DOT does when they look at your logbook, even the electronic log, you know, they know our trucks are governed, so they probably don't even really care. But, you know, like you look here, 142 miles. You went from Springfield to Joplin. All right, I wrote down the mileage was 142. If you do the miles divided by the hours that you drove, which is 4, you come out to 35.5 miles per hour. So you definitely can get an overspeed. Obviously 35 miles per hour, I logged too much driving time. 35 miles per hour is not what we're going to do to Springfield to Joplin. The speed limit's like, I think, 65 or 70 on I-44. That's the major interstate that runs between those two. Alright, so that's pretty much that, and you know, that's how the DOT gets your speed, and they can actually give you a logbook violation. Let's say if your speed's like 80, alright, on your logbook, let's say if you logged for some reason it came out that way, they're going to give you a ticket for that. Alright, because it's math. So let's go to our next day. This next day, actually, just slide this up. I don't think you can see the next day. There we go. I'm gonna kind of peel that back so you guys can see, because I've got multiple pages that I've written on. All right, so we're going to focus on the bottom here. All right, so 215 miles driven today. We were off duty for a period of 30 minutes. Went to driving for a period of 2 hours and a half. Went to on duty for a period of 30 minutes. Back up to off duty for the rest of this time until 4 p.m. All right, so what you need to realize here is from midnight to 4 p.m. is how many hours? 14, right? So you remember I told you about those rules? You know, the last log that we did, you know, that was pretty cut and dry. We didn't violate any rules. You know, we weren't on duty for an excessive period of time. But this one, you know, we started here, and then right here we went down to driving. All right, so technically, once you went to driving from off duty, 30 minutes into the day, at 4:30, you would be out of driving time, or 16:30 or 4:30 p.m., whatever way you want to look at it, all the same time. All right, so that's 14 complete hours from 00:30 or midnight 30. I was in the military, this is how I talk, I'm sorry. But from, I don't even know how to say the correct time, 12:30 a.m. I just want to say midnight 30, it just makes sense to me. But from here all the way to 4:30 p.m. would have been 14 hours. So technically anything past here, you cannot log driving or on duty. You can only log between off duty and sleeper berth. However, doing that, you need to make sure that you get 8 consecutive hours in the sleeper. When I say consecutive, that means, you know, once you start that 8-hour point, if you go to off duty for 5 minutes, it breaks the consecutiveness of the sleeper berth time, and you have to start over for 8 hours. All right, and it's required that you take 8 hours at least in the sleeper before you're able to operate a commercial motor vehicle. It is required. So am I telling you to, if you have to get up and go to the bathroom during your sleep berth time, not to log that time? No. But does the law say that that's a break in your sleep berth time and that you have to start over? Yes. All right. With that being said, off-duty time for the day, 13 hours, 8 hours in the sleeper berth, 2.5 in the drive line, and 0.5 on duty not driving for a cumulative of 24. You see here we started in Springfield, Missouri, went to St. Louis, Missouri, loaded, and then we stayed there. Apparently we were off duty. I don't know what we were doing. Like maybe you were in the casino or something there, who knows. And then you went to St. Louis, Missouri, changed, you went to bed at about 4 p.m. and for 8 hours. So what this did here for this 8 hours in the sleeper, what I'm going to talk to you about is an 8-2 split. So this is what I mean by 8-2 split. So you went 8 hours in the sleeper, all right? You drove that day for 2.5 hours. So after you got 8 hours in the sleeper, you know, technically you're out of drive time because your 14 is done. Your 14-hour clock is done. You know, you did 8 hours in the sleeper, you drove for 2.5 hours, you're going to get back, I wrote it down, so I'm looking for it. You're going to get back, because I did the math before I started this, you're going to get back 8.5 hours. How did I get that? You know, you take 11 hours of drive time and you minus 2.5 hours of driving that you did do in the previous cycle. All right, and that gives you a total of 8.5, and then your 14-hour clock refreshes, but it only gives you 8.5 hours of drive time. Does that make sense? That's what your 8-2 split is. So once you get that back, to get your full clock back, let's say if you know you need to get somewhere that's only like an hour away. So you sit here at 4, you went to sleeper berth for 8 hours to midnight. You didn't have the hours to say finish where you were going, or you know, you got a load, you know, after sitting there they said, hey, go pick up this load 50 miles away. That's no problem. You know, you say, hey, my 10-hour break's not over, but I've been in the sleeper berth for 8 hours, so technically you can drive those 8.5 hours. So what you do is you get back and, you know, you drive those 50 something miles, and then once you get there, do whatever on duty time you need to do to load, and then, you know, whatever's factual and legal, and then you go to the sleeper berth for 2 hours. Once you go to the sleeper berth for 2 hours, that's going to complete your 10-hour break and then credit you your time back, like you know, like you took a 10-hour break. Now, is that going to give you a complete 11 hours of driving? No. Whatever you did off of that 8.5 hours is not going to give you back. All right, if that makes sense. You know, pretty much this is what we're calling the split part of it. This is the 2 split. You know, you take 2 hours in a sleeper berth and you get the retroactive amount back, if that makes any sense to you guys. I hope I'm explaining this well, and not Whew, this is a hard subject to really explain without, you know, people sitting and, you know, me being able to answer questions as we go along for clarification. But this is the best way that I know how to explain it over a video. This is pretty much logging at its finest. You know, that's the way I log, and I told you guys I was going to show you. Let's go ahead to that right now. We're going to go over to the Qualcomm, and this is the graph. This is my graph. All right, that's that graph. You see the graph from yesterday. All right, it's pretty much these are my graphs. You see, I got all the sleep birth time. You see the up downs, and we're going to go here. All right, I'm going to see if I remarked anything. I don't generally do remarks on here. It's, from my understanding, it's not required. Info, you see, it has everything. Well, no. Let me see. So I'm looking for one that I put a remark on, because sometimes I do it and sometimes I don't. I very rarely. They don't require us to put remarks on electronic logs. That's they kind of know what we're doing. I see how tedious this is. I'm trying to find one. I do it very occasionally, seldomly, if that makes any sense. But anyway, you know, like, you know, it kind of, you know, look here, you know, it shows what I was doing. If you click on that one, it shows I was in Prescott, Arizona, 45 miles north of Prescott, Arizona. Alright, status on duty. I was on duty for 7 minutes. Alright, whatever I was doing there. But with that being said, that's pretty much it. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and end this video. This thing's at 12 minutes already. But I hope that kind of gave you somewhat of an understanding how logbooks work, how electronic log works, and then how paper log works in your hours of service. If you have any questions, comment below. I'm pretty sure I'm going to get some questions, and probably some really good ones. I'll do my best to answer them. Like I said, you know, if I don't have that, you know, I don't have that feedback sitting here asking me these questions as I go along. So with that being said, like, subscribe, share the video. This is part 2. You guys have a good day.